Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before beginning our presentation today, let's thank to our God Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala who has given us mercies and blessings until we can attend in this online meeting without any trouble and obstacles. Praise, peace and salutation be upon our noble Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has brought us from the darkness to the likeness, from the stupid era to the cleverness of religion, with the biggest religion in this world and hereafter. Okay, so we are from Group 9. We present our presentation under the title The Discourse of Prejudice. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so here our member, Helmi, time is your.
Okay, thank you to moderator for giving me a chance to explain and serving this material to all of you so you can watch and listen this presentation. Um, so, good day everyone. Today I will exploring how metaphorical construct, particularly cognitive frames, shape discourse on race and immigrations. I'll be discussing how metaphors are used to justify ideologies and social perceptions, particularly in the context of American conservatism and racism. Uh, there are nine that we will discuss on this frame and race. So please, next slide. All right. Let's say we I will introduce you to what is cognitive frames. Let's begin by defining what we mean by cognitive frames. Cognitive frames are essentially mental structures that shape how we understand the world. They are often metaphorical, meaning that they use familiar concepts to make sense of complex issues. These frames guide political, social, and even racial discourse, influencing how we interpret events and people. That is what cognitive means. Next slide, please. So, the family metaphor in a conservative ideology, given, it is there is America and other country. One powerful cognitive frame used in American conservative ideology is the metaphor of the nation as a family, specifically the United States under a conservative government is seen as the strict father figure. Other countries, particularly developing nations, are viewed as the children who need to be disciplined or punished if they misbehave. It's a metaphorical. So America have a control over other countries, something like that. And next slide. So racism as a metaphor. So these metaphors of family and discipline, this discipline can easily the can can easily tie into racist ideologies. Racists may view certain racial or ethnic group as immature or childlike, which justify the idea that these groups need to be controlled or punished. Historically, this frame has been used in the justification of slavery and colonialism, where oppressed groups were seen as needing guidance or subjugations. Um, it is like uh, what we know these days, or maybe a centuries back then, where black people always being a slave or what we call in Indonesian adalah bawahan. Seperti itu. Next slide, please. So this is primitive America. This is primitive Africa and evolutionary frames. So a related racist metaphor is the primitive Africa frame, which often operates alongside the idea of evolutionary differences between races. These frames portrays some racial groups, race, wait, racial group race as primitive or less evolved. A common stereotype might be include terms like just down from the trees. In the 19th century, Irish immigrants were even depicted as an apes. In cartoons and later during the 1930s, the Nazis applied the metaphors to Jews. These metaphors dehumanize people and lay the groundwork for harmful racist action. So back then, American people always seen immigrant and what is it? African and immigrant as an apes, something like that. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. So discrimination. We passed the. Sorry, that's. Been crying. Back this. Bukan yang ini, yang sebelumnya. Alright, this is discrimination and victimization. When you use metaphors like this, you're not just describing people, you're stripping away their humanity. This sets the stage for victimization. For instance, President Rutherford B. In his 1879 letter about Chinese immigrants referred to their arrival as an invasion and implied they were a threat to American society. This kind of dehumanization prepares the ground for discriminatory laws and practices. So on the screen you can see the letter or the quotation of the Rutherford B. Hayes in 1879. I want read it to cut the time. So next slide, please. So in this slide, immigration metaphors in conservative discourse. When it comes to immigration, conservative frames it as a destructive force. Immigrants are sometimes described as a flooding or swamping the country, draining its resources. There's also the metaphor of the nation as a container, one that has limited capacity. A country bursting at the seams. And finally, immigrants are often portrayed as parasites, living off the states, contributing little and consuming social welfare. So they saw that immigrants are parasite to their country. Next slide. In this slide, cultural hierarchies and racism. In modern times, racist arguments often shift away from biological theories of racial superiority and instead focus on cultural differences. The argument becomes one of cultural hierarchies. Some cultures are perceived as more advanced than others. This line of thinking allows people to justify discrimination not based on biology but on the perceived incompatibility of cultures, claiming that some cultures are simply better than others. So they think that uh, one of their cultures is better than the other cultures because they are immigrant or something like that. So yeah, next slide. So the impact of cultural assumption. There is article. The title of the article is The Independent, wrote by Mary Dijevsky. There is a good example of this cultural argument can be seen. Nah, where the American writer Mary Dijevsky discussed the changing face of outer U.S. due to Hispanic immigration. While the article is balanced, it still leans on stereotypes about Hispanic immigrants. For example, it described them as engaging in dishonest practice like bribing, just something like that. Uh, Next slide, please. And then this one, the Puritan origins stereotype. The Jeff, the Jeff, the Jeffsky or the previous the previous writer also touches on the idea of the Puritan origins of America, referring to the traditional stereotype of the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant as the ideal American. This is a powerful cultural frame that still influences many people's view of American identity. However, as the US becomes more cultural diverse, there's a reluctant shift away from this narrow definition of American. Yet, even when acknowledging this change, many still cling to the belief that the original Americans uh, are more honest and victorious than recent immigrants. And next slide. Oh, uh, it seems like my slide or my presentation is done there. So I think thank you for your attention. I'll give it back to moderator.
Okay. Thank you, Helmi. Beautiful explanation from Helmi. Okay, for the next presenter, I allow you, Martin Arya, please.
Okay, thank you for moderator. Okay, the next material is to report of immigration. The UK already has a strict immigration policy in operation, hence report on this topic often specify legal and illegal immigrants. However, there are two groups are often merged in popular and media discussion, making it difficult to evaluate the argument. In 2006, an organization called the Institute for Public Policy Research, EVVR, an independent charity which describes itself as the UK leading progressive think tank published a report. This was reported in British newspaper on 3 31 March 2006. We here considered two of their reports. The independent could be described as a life learning liberal progressive paper well within the mainstream of British politics. The Daily Mail is right wing conservative. Next. To report of immigration have a liberal account under a headline immigration. The fact we are never told the independent file most of its from pick with bold point from the reports. Surprisingly, for those accustomed to seeing such headlines in the British press, all the points given were favorable to immigration and consistent mainly of economic fact. For example, number one, if allowed to live legally, the illegal immigrants would be paying more than 1 billion in tax each year. Two, and number two, legal migrants comprise 2.7% of the population but contribute 10.2% of all tax as immigrant by an average of 7,203 in tax compared with 6,861 for non-migrant works. Next. And a conservative account. The Daily Mail report chose to sideline the EFFR report and focus more on information from the respected city forecaster. Capital Economics. It does include EFFR. Through it daily, it mentioned keep the enriched brief and use it to support its generally negative picture of immigration. Next. Packaging the information. Packaging the information both the Independent and the Daily Mail report their estimate figure of 4.7 billion for deporting all illegal immigrants, but the purpose of the information is different in the two contexts. The different bullet points test. Deporting them would cause 4.7 billion and leave a cost shortage of cleaners, car works, and hotel staff. The Daily Mail said yesterday there were rumors of a government amnesty for 500,000 illegal immigrants after Labour favorite think tank said the states could save 4.7 billion by avoiding the idea of deporting them. Next. And to the different message. What to see is there to report is to account of the same issues published on the same day but presenting themselves as projective and factually based, but 126, the practice of critical discourse analysis, creating different meaning, the different present their broad narrative or wording. The first is immigrant benefit our society economically, improving their life would bring future benefit. Less culturally, the present situation in inhuman and people are suffering. And the second, the daily mal is saying or wording. We all knew already that there were too many immigrants. Now we learn that there are more than the government has compassed to, and the last it is likely to get even worse. Next. Okay, I think enough for me. I will back to moderator.
Paling kita ganti
To Brother Martin for the explanation. For the next presenter, please Amanda Wahada. Time is yours.
Thank you, moderator. And I will explain about prejudice. So the next, please. Prejudice is a negative attitude or opinion towards an individual or group based on characteristic with or fair reasoning or direct experience. So this means a person might judge another negatively simply because of their identify or group affiliation without knowing them personally. So the next, please. So the next about causes of prejudice, and prejudice does not normally several factors contribute to this development. The first, fear of difference. People tend to feel things that are unfamiliar or different from their norms, like different in race, culture, religion, and social background can lead to prejudice. And the second, stereotypes. When people believe in stereotype, they assume that all members of groups share the same traits, which reinforce prejudice. And the next, economic and political competition. Prejudice can also stem from the fear of losing jobs, social status, or power due to competition within the group. And the next, social and cultural influences. Many voices are passed on generation via education, family, and social norms. And interest with a certain group, they might develop prejudice due to lack. So the next about type of prejudice. So next slide, please. Oh, sorry. The next about forms of prejudice is there are 5 forms of prejudice. The first, racial prejudice, and the second, gender prejudice. The second, the next prejudice, and next, social prejudice, and the last, cultural prejudice. So racial prejudice is based on racial or ethnic difference, leading to discrimination. And about gender prejudice on the judges someone negatively simply because of their religious beliefs, and the next social prejudice based on economic status or social class. For example, uh, kayak orang miskin tuh malas, sedangkan orang kaya tuh sombong. So the last cultural prejudice is person feel their culture is better than another culture and just another culture as inferior. So the next please. And the last, I will explain about impact of prejudice. Prejudice has a negative effect in many areas. In first individual, so leads to discrimination, stress, and feeling of exclusion. And the next society encourage social conflict and reinforce injustice. And the next economy limit job opportunity for catching group, affecting economy-nya tuh turun gitu. Sedangkan yang terakhir ada politik yang nggak seimbang dan ngebikin jadi nggak adil untuk semua orang gitu. So that's all for me about Prejudice Days. I will back to moderator. Terima kasih. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for Amanda. For the last presenter, Nuraini Amlayasari, time's yours, please.
Okay, thank you, moderator. Now I will explain about lexical meaning. Lexical meaning pertains to the inherent meaning of words as they are understood in a language. In CDA, this meaning is not viewed in isolation but is analyzed concerning the context in which it is used. This approach highlights how certain lexical choice can carry ideological implication or, or reinforce social hierarchies. The role of lexical choice. Rule of lexical choice have two rules. The first is ideological association, or words can evoke specific ideologies or cultural connotations. For instance, the choice of terms can reflect bias or attitudes toward particular group or issues, such as using terrorist versus freedom fighter to describe the same individual depending on the speaker perspective. Okay. Okay, the next is formality and euphemism. The level of formality in a word choice can indicate the power relationship or social status between the speaker and the listener. For example, in official situation, might one might use a more formal word like resign rather than quiet to show politeness and professionalism. In addition, euphemisms are used to soften harsh or uncomfortable realities. For example, the term collateral damage is often used in military context to describe the deaths of civilians from an attack. Instead of saying directly that they were killed, this aims to reduce the emotional impacts or avoid negative response from the publics. Okay, the next point is analyzing lexical meaning. The first is word frequency. How often certain terms are used can indicate their importance within a discourse. Contohnya kayak dalam wacana politik, jika kata kayak security itu kan keamanan, nah lebih sering muncul tuh daripada freedom. Freedom itu kebebasan. Nah, hal ini tuh dapat menunjukkan bahwa fokus utama pembicaraan itu adalah keamanan, bukan kebebasan. Itu kayak word frekuensinya beda. Yang kedua itu adalah collocations, itu the company that word keeps. what word they commonly pair with can reveal deeper meanings and association. Jadi kata kalian tuh munculnya tuh dalam satu teks dalam ucapan itu mengungkap makna yang lebih dalam atau asosiasi tertentu. Contohnya dalam berita tentang imigrasi. Contoh katanya itu adalah ilegal yang sering muncul bersama dengan imigran. Nah, yang dapat membangun citra negatif terhadap imigran meskipun tidak semua imigrasi itu ilegal. Yang terakhir itu ada semantic fields. Grouping words into categories based on shared meanings can help uncover underlying themes or ideologies present in the text. Kata ini tuh menganalisis kelompok kata kayak gitu. Contohnya banyak kata yang berhubungan dengan sacrifice atau pengorbanan itu terus honor, kehormatan dan dati itu tugas on duty dati. Seperti itu. Okay, the next is implication for power dynamics. CDA posits that language is a tool for shaping social realities by analyzing lexical choice. Research can uncover how language perpetuates power imbalance and social inequalities. Example for lexical meaning, itu word choice in news. In news report about protest, the use of the term demonstration versus rioters can show bias. The term demonstrations has a positive connotation and denotes the right to speak out, whereas rioters give a negative impression and demands the purpose of the protest. This reflects how the media can influence public opinions through different word choice. Maybe enough for me. I'll give it back to moderator.
Okay, thank you for all the presenter. You can explain beautiful explanation about our material discussing today. So for the conclusions, in this sense, the discussion surrounding prejudice illustrates how in society the way people talk and are represented influence inequality. It expounds on cognitive framing, metaphors in conservative ideology, racism and discrimination, and the effects thereof. Prejudice is rooted in fear of the other, agendas, and can manifest as biases in race, gender, religion, social standing, and culture. Critical discourse analysis, or CDA, we say, expose the progression of ideologies through lexical choices in overt and covert ways, considering how language constructs rather than merely reflects. Social reality promotes awareness of the determinative power of prejudice. So this material is redolent of a need to broaden a critical lens to the topics presented to recognize and challenge prejudice in all its forms and reduce it in society. Okay, so guys, maybe that's all from us. We say thanks to for your attention to watch this presentation. For the last, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.